is in jail. He was arrested for defending me. The man who ran me over died.
God's justice will prevail. Luke will find you in Vancouver. Gilead won't matter, and your family will be together again.
Serena. Hannah. Hannah. She's still there, remember?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's scary. I mean, that's the short answer. It's just, it's unsettling, uneasy. I don't know that any one of us anticipated, for the show to be so impactful and meaningful, ever. We've been at it. It's been 6 seasons, but really we've spanned almost a decade. And just even looking back, on the history of The Handmaid's Tale as a book, there was always, when it came out in the 80s, when Margaret Atwood wrote it, I mean, she always said everything that she wrote in the book was pulled from historical references and stuff that was either happening in the present day or had happened. So she's obviously written this incredible story that needs to be heard and is amazing and has become, through our TV show now, sort of a symbol of resistance and a voice for women in particular.
Yeah, unfortunately, all around the world, there are instances of, society kind of getting worse and crackdowns on human rights and civil rights. There's refugee crisis, which is a big part of the show, actually, I think, which is understated a lot, which is, what it is to become a refugee. Luke is a refugee. He is an immigrant. How do we treat people, human beings? And I think it's one of the most important things that this show can do is just go, hey, these issues are important, and if we can kind of take them out of the context that we're used to, maybe we can depoliticize them to the extent to which we can look at it with more humanity, with more empathy. And so to the extent to which the show can do that, I just think it's really important.
It feels important, I mean, I think that this show from season 1 has been, we fired off a warning shot with the pilot, and it feels like people have not paid attention to that warning shot. And now we are, in a full-blown war and hoping that somebody does something and listens.
Yeah, it's a complicated time, but I'm really grateful that the show is coming out now, even though you could look at it and say, "Oh my God, it's become a documentary." But this show, and especially this season, is about resistance and about. I always think like the center of the show is obviously June, and what is so magnetic about her is her understanding that despair is a luxury that her children cannot afford, and that action is the antidote to despair. And no matter what you're up against, you have to point it out and resist. We're at a time a year ago when there were 14 states that had banned abortion. There were 64,000 pregnant rape victims, according to the Journal of the American Medical Association, without access to abortion care. Now that number is higher because there are 19 states. We have a president who has got elected lying, saying that people were killing babies after they were born. It's an incredibly urgent time for us to take a cue from June Osborne and stand up and fight.
Fight and gather your troops.
Yes.
I mean, we were asked this question. We've been asked this question almost every season. Every season, it feels like we're inching closer to the lines between fiction and fact being blurred. And so, the only thing I will say is that it's scary because nothing has changed very much, which means there's so much more progress needed. There's so much more rebellion needed. Frightening, but it's also been our reality for the last 8 years.
Yeah. And I think that's something that this season does really beautifully, is that I find it really inspiring.
Yeah.
You know, every season there's been these little incremental bits of resistance. You know, the letters in season 1 was like so outrageous, so intense. And that was an act of resistance. And we each have little resistances in ourselves and in our characters. And this season, we kind of get to see it all come to a head. And I hope that people find it inspiring, is that there's never any loss. There is no small act of resistance.
Yeah.
There is no like slight or insignificant act of resistance, I think is what I mean. It's all important.
I mean, honestly, it feels kind of like season 1. In the level of just how prescient it is right now. And it's not something that I would have imagined or something that I would have wanted for it to be this relevant. But I do know that there was a familiar feeling on set when the results of the American election came out, of responsibility, maybe, that we had being on this show to tell this story. And it's still surreal. I mean, honestly, even when you ask the question, I was like, goodness, like this is just, but it's also an honor to be telling this story at this time.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's so unique about this job, this show, is that, we see in the political sphere right now, the impact that stories have. People are fed a story, and it doesn't matter if there is fact behind it. They want to believe what is most convenient for them. And one of the things that I love about this show is it exposes empathy. Our show is inherently about, you watch it and you find these people whose stories are so nuanced and so particular to their suffering, and it resonates with you. It's meaningful. And so this is kind of, our show is a counter to all the arguments against loving people, for better or worse. And so I'm honored to be a part of telling that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Margaret's novel was so insanely prescient, and we've gotten to sort of jump off on that. And the show is really a testament to her writing and her foresight. So it is amazing when the show has some kind of real world resonance. But I think that's really a credit to Margaret Atwood as a person and as a writer.
I think it's it's not so dystopian, is it? It's kind of it's quite strange times. So I think that's I guess you could look at that 2 different ways for the show, but I think it makes it very relevant and very very, very relatable. Certainly.
I feel aligned with her journey this season and where it went in the end. I think primarily because this season she has an opportunity every season to be more real and honest with herself and make better choices. But this season, again, more so than ever, she does have that opportunity, but does really become, I think, more honest with herself. And so she's able to sort of crack that narrow-minded lens that she sees everything through and sort of crack it open a little bit wider. And I think kind of try to start to understand the impact that she's had on the world around her and on people. So it's been a really satisfying emotional journey overall, and especially this season.
I desperately wanted to get a glimpse of Rita's backstory or family or something outside of the Waterfords. Just something of her own story that wasn't sort of tethered to Serena or June. And I really feel satiated with what I got. I'm really, really happy about it. I'm really proud.
I mean, at the end of the day, Janine is a survivor. She always has been. I don't think that sex work is a problem for her. I think that what is a problem is that these guys are idiots, abusive, drunk idiots, whose aim is to dehumanize her. That's tough. But the work itself isn't. And I really wanted to show that within this space, there is so much love and care that she's still able to give, and she's still able to find a purpose among these women. And that's to be there, like to take care of them, to be like the mother hen, as June was for her. Mother hen isn't the greatest way to describe it, but
No,
the
right. Yeah.
to be the one lifting other people up and inspiring them. Like she's really taken a note out of June's book, and I wanted that to show a bit.
You know, we receive our scripts, you know, from the writers, and I have real trust in our showrunners, our co-showrunners, and the writing team. There has been a conversation almost between the actors and the writers without the words, really, just from them understanding who we are as actors, understanding the characters we've created, understanding the way we speak, and just really trusting that was, I think, what got me to fulfillment this season. That was the roadmap. I mean, like, I know this is a weird comparison, but like trusting the words of Shakespeare almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, you know, being able to trust your collaborators. And I feel really, really, really fulfilled about Moira's story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, luckily the people assembled, they were so specific. I don't know if it was Bruce or who chose the people to be a part of this, but they're all so selfless when it comes to what is the most important part of this story. How is this going to resonate to people? How is this going to find meaning? And I think that's one of the reasons that our show still matters, is that we're always trying to tell a tale that resonates deeply with people.
You know, I think one of the things, you know, which isn't explicit, that I was trying to explore is kind of mental health and what does the compounding effect of trauma make on somebody, and how resilient someone can be, and also how vulnerable they can be, how someone could be pushed to breaking point and then choose to take actions which they haven't done before. I think these are lots of the themes that I was trying to explore on an internal level with Luke.
I think it's really just about the complexity that you get to explore in a character when you're allowed this much time. You know, it's very rare you get to play a character for 6 seasons, and as a result, he gets to be complicated. And so I have no investment on him being a good guy or a bad guy or whatever that means. I've just enjoyed getting to explore somebody who I think is complicated, and that's, again, it's just the writing. It's just like we're lucky enough to have really clever words to say. Yes, they can. I mean, look, I think it's a really surprising season. As I was reading it, I found it extremely unpredictable and entertaining, and so I hope that comes through. I haven't seen the frame of the show yet, but I'm hoping that that we did it service, because the writing was there and it was full of surprises.